vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a butter bar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran and their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
Hey, what's up, mental health warriors? Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. Yes. It's Thursday. As you guys know, I did not have a podcast yesterday. Chris had to work and had some things going on. As you see, I'm in a white suit. Yes, it's been quite the day today. Exciting day. And I'll jump into that here in a second. But first, I want to make my way around. You got Reads Across America. It's really great and wonderful what they do during the holiday season to ensure those wreaths are placed on the tombs. You can scan that QR code, and for those $15, $20, you can donate money. You can also personalize one. You don't know this, but you can personalize. And the easy to do, just scan it, takes you right to the web, self-explanatory. But if you watched the podcast last week, then this week at Reads Across America Radio, yes, Reads Across America Radio, plays my podcast Fridays at 8 p.m. And it's really easy to find now because if you have the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, you can search for Read and find Across America Radio. But, yes, now, and I talked about it last week, you can download the Reads Across America Radio app and catch all the programs live on app. And it's pretty amazing. I used it while I was in Italy. It worked just fine. So, super excited about that. I am here in Yorktown at Tom's house. He was supposed to be on the podcast today, but he got tied up at Fort Lee, so he's late coming home from work, so he probably won't make it on. But 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirits, I'm wearing their shirt. I'm gonna zip my paint suit. See, great spirits. I need to get my order in. Chris keeps telling me, and I keep forgetting. I'll do that probably on Monday or something. But hey, the bourbon's great. I was just telling you about it down here in Yorktown. And of course they got really great and wonderful cordials. All the Italian friends love that cordial, right? Especially Pepe. But hey, give them a look. See, we'll throw the website out there. And we'll use the code VTT to save 10%. Watch the video before the podcast. Veterans Mortgage powered by Canopy Mortgage. We got a new person in charge of the Fed now, right? I bet they're gonna drop those interest rates. What's gonna happen when they drop those interest rates? You use that VA loan, buy your dream house, and maybe get your dream house like Tom did behind me. His pool sprung a leak, so forget about the pool. But Tom's also built. See that big shed out there? That's where he works on all of his hot rods. We were up late last night. He put a 671 bar in his Firebird, the electronic fuel injection. So we've been working on that. But when he bought that X671 blower, he had to get a new hood. And so I've been painting his hood. And so, hey, scan that code. We're more happy. Any of your questions about your mortgage, maybe you want to refinance your house and build your big workshop in the back. And so you can work on that hot rod you've always wanted. You got Pieces Paradise. If you still like to be and you want to, and you're being stationed out in Hawaii, they'd be more than happy to help you. I know they're a really great company, and they helped some friends of mine out who was kind of in a bind. So if you still like to do being PCS out to Hawaii, scan that QR code you with that. Okay, so why are you dressed up like a hazmat guy? What's going on here? You got to do an EPA inspections down here at Tom's house? No, nothing like that. So, as you guys know, I'm in the States till 7 June going on, a lot of moving pieces. But as you guys know, Tom's been watching my Mustang while I've been in Italy. Sorry, looks crap. While I've been in Italy. So, you got to help out a friend who helps you out. For those who don't know, I grew up in a body shop. And for many, 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 many years, I painted cars and trucks to include big tractors, semis, 45-foot trailers, 52-foot trailers. I did that for many, many years in the military. Not in the military, in my civilian life. When I obviously in 2000, I quit painting at that point. And so it's been a little bit. It's been a minute. A lot of things have changed since the last time I painted a car, probably 25 years ago. But it's all the same. And so I went to the paint store in Sherman-Williams in town, and his Newport News. Really super helpful guy. Kind of helped my questions because it's been a while. Things change. Tom's cars it's a race car. It's a drag car. And he's got about 900 horsepower now. So he's went from a metal hood to a fiberglass. That's what I've been working on. And so I went there, got my products. It feels really good to help a friend. Emotional for me too to be work project, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So I got the paint, got my primer, got all my stuff that I needed. It's back just like you do at home when you're doing a project. But I started working on the project. Well, about 5 years ago, my father passed away. My father was a painter all his life. And before he retired from his job and before he died, he had all of his spray guns sent to Sada and had them rebuilt by the factory. I don't know why he did this, but he did this. And so nobody's touched those. The last person to touch those guns was my father. And so I'm here helping Tom. And of course, I brought all the guns down here because I knew he was going to build a workshop in case there was any time I needed to do something. And so yesterday, what's today? Tuesday, I took the guns out of the box for the first time. Last person to touch those guns was my father. And so I picked the high volume, low solder, which is gravity fed. And I'll post pictures of everything online. You can follow me on my website, all my Facebook, social media. And I'm going to put together a collage and a posting about everything that's been going on. But, it's just really kind of emotional for me to have that connection back to my father and be able to work on something that we spent many, many years, my whole life, doing. And so, we're sitting in the shop, it's kind of warm outside, the sun's beating down, and it just really made me really think about it. Nothing bad, all good thoughts, really good thoughts, happy thoughts. And, something about when you're doing auto body work, and it's very, very, very important. And Tom's got a friend here, Hugh, and he's bought a Chevelle and he's working on it, but he's never worked on one, but he's a woodworker. But working on cars is a little bit different. And so when you're working on a car and you're doing paint work, body work, whatever you're doing, it's very, 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 very important. Very important that you do all the prep work before painting. 95% of a good paint job is the prep work. Prep work's boring. It's not sexy. I get it. So I've been helping Hugh and coaching. He was sanding a hood and he was using the orbital sander wrong and it kinds of grooves in it. No problem. We got those fixed. And so I've been helping him and teaching him, how to do it properly. So when I'm not here and he's doing other work on a bill, he'll understand and know how to do it. But one thing you can't do with prep work, can't you can't cut corners, because if you do, when you spray paint, it's going to show it and you're going to see it. And so it's very important. And on Tom's hood, it's fiberglass. And so I know that if I'm spraying fiberglass or plastic parts, I need to use a good urethane primers. Those primers take a hardener. The hardener has isocyanates in it. It's not very good for you. That's why I have a paint suit on. I wore my mask, had my rubber gloves on. Of course, I took them off the podcast. Safety equipment's very, very important when you're spraying it. I don't care if you're spraying outside, inside, whatever. It doesn't matter. Buy the mask. They make disposable masks now you can buy. Buy a paint suit. They're kind of expensive, but it save your life. And, your safety equipment. But prep work is important. And so for 2 days, I have literally sanded and primed top of Tom's hood. And I just started painting it now. I just stepped out of the booth and do the podcast, talk with you guys. And I'll post some photos. Chris is doing this remotely, so I can't really send him photos to show you guys. But like I said, you can see them all on social media once it dries. I don't know if I'll do another coat or not. I got 3 good coats on there. That might be enough. Tom's air pressure was kind of messing up some and not keeping up with me, so we'll see how that goes. But I say all this is that, when you have a loved one that's gone and not around, it's emotional when you reconnect with that person. And I talk about this on my speaking event, everything. You always that box of mementos, right? Of your friend, of your family member, or something, and then you come across it, and then you open that box up. Depending upon what your mood is that time, opening that box and seeing those mementos could be a good thing. It could be it could be a good for you. It could bring back sad memories, could bring back happy memories. And if you're already kind of in a bad place, you have to be ready to deal with those emotions when they flood in. And there's many ways to do it. Easy for me. Obviously, I talked about, when I opened up the solder spray gun, I had it in my hand. Well, I had to put it together, and then after I put it together, and just thinking about my father and all those years he spent working on cars and painting cars, restoring cars. How many hours did I spend in the paint, suit spraying and taking care of all those things? And so, if you come across that box of mementos, it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be brought back to that time. It's okay to think about that person. And you know what? If it's bringing back negative thoughts or negative feelings, then maybe you need to talk about it. You talk to your friends, talk to your family, but try to remember the good and all that. Kept those for a reason. And most of the time, we don't keep something because it's a bad memory. We keep something because there's a good memory associated with it. So try to remember the memory associated with that, and then you should be good. Hey, Gian, how you doing? I had to put my glasses on. I'm outside. Sun's kind of in my eyes. I apologize for that. So try to remember the good things. I know it can be difficult. I know it can be hard, but I think it's also important. It's important to remember our past. It's important to have that connection to, things that went on in our past. I talk about the going to Greece and reconnecting with my family history, and dealing with all that and what positive emotions that has had. Next week I'll go to Kansas City, and so I'll be able to sit down with my family and talk about that big adventure I had. Talk about our family and then what I found out about our family, and talk to them about the house, and just have those good memories again. And just like with my father, are we back, Chris? He probably connected. I'm going to assume that we're back. He'll tell me. He'll tell me. Dude, nice off. I'm sure we're back. Let me see. Oh yeah, we're back. Anyway, so it's good to reconnect and have those memories. It's good to go hang out with some friends. Go hang out with some buddies. I'm here at Tom's all week. Of course, he's working. I'm at the house, and and been working on this car, and it's really made me feel good. I really enjoyed that. And when I go back home with my family in Missouri, and and hey, thanks for letting me know we're back on. Go back to my family in Missouri. It's really gonna be a good time. It's really gonna be enjoyable. And so one of the things I really wanted to talk about and reiterate, and I'm sorry for having problems. Tom does live out in the country. Is sometimes we get so caught up in our world. Sometimes we get so caught up with everything going on around us, we forget to take time for ourselves. But also, we need to remember that being emotional about things and maybe upset about things or having things affect you is part of life. It's part of being a human. It's part of living, and learning to deal with those things in a positive manner. Is something that we need to learn. It's something I had to learn. It's something hard. And try to always look for the positive things throughout your day. Oh, that's good. No, I didn't actually drop things. Because it's too hard to focus on the negative. Why always focus on the negative? You know, um, I was painting Tom's hood today, and I'm kind of nervous about it because he wanted it shiny black. And if anybody knows anything about painting, that's the absolute worst color to shows any flaws. That's why I took so much time prepping the fiberglass hood, but painted it. And so when you spray black, it'll show every little flaw. You can get orange peel in it. And of course, I'm just spraying an enamel reduced 10%. I didn't use a hardener because it's a race car, but and it's kind of forgiving. So if you never painted a car before, you're painting your first thing, using enamel without a hardener reduced is probably the most forgiving paint you can spray. I would stay away from black because black's kind of different because it shows a lot of flaws. But if you have a practice panel and you practice painting, you should do fine. But no matter what you're painting, you use a urethane primer with a hardener because the primer is what's really going to make, and doing the proper steps in prepping will make you good. Just like how we prep for our lives, right? Before you go outside or see friends or do something, you got to prep for it. You prep before you go to your therapy session, right? You think about what you're going to talk to your therapist about. You think about what went on that day, and you just kind of go back and reflect on all that when you therapy. And it's I don't know. Being a mental health warrior, being a survivor and attempt, and looking back on all those negative things in my life, I don't know if people always ask, would you change something? I don't know if I would change anything. It made the person who I am through. And so all the people I met, all the relationships I've had, doing speaking events, doing the podcast, I don't know if I would have changed anything. But one thing I would have changed is I would ask for help sooner. And I don't know why as men, and I'm gonna talk about men for a minute. Why do we have such a hard time with that? I had a hard time with that. My father never asked, anything like that before. That's why I grew up. But we have a hard time saying that, hey, we need help. We have a hard time saying, this is bothering me. We like to internalize things, a whole lot. We don't really have a lot of outlets. And so it's very important as men. It doesn't make you less of a man if you ask for help. It doesn't make you less of a man if you admit the fact that something's bothering you. It doesn't make you less of a man to look in the mirror and say, you know what? It's okay to be okay. I talked about this last week. Stop talking negative about yourself. Be more positive, and just always look for, if not the good, something better going on in your life. And it will have a profound effect on you, I promise you. Because once you stop the negative thinking, once you stop the self harming of yourself, and I'm not talking about physical harming yourself, cutting yourself, and those things. I'm talking about the harm you do to yourself by speaking negative about yourself. Because such a profound effect on your life, such a profound effect on your day. And so when you wake up in the morning, just like Bruce Lee said, talk positive to yourself. Bring that positive energy into your being. Bring that positive energy into your universe. That sounds kind of silly. I know it. But you know what? What good is it going to do if you wake up and you talk negative to yourself? Because it's going to put you in a bad mood. And then I guarantee you, the universe is going to make something bad happen to you that day. And so let's just always think about positive things. So today I was painting Tom's hood. I was on the second coat. The air compressor is having an issue. Well, it's not keeping up. It did just fine yesterday. I don't know why it's messing up today, but I had to drain the water in it and stop what I was doing and do some other things. And, you know, when you're painting, you got a time frame that you have to put the coats on. But I didn't let that bother me. I didn't let that turn into negative thoughts like, oh, the paint's going to be ruined. It's not going to look good. It's going to be terrible. You're going to have to redo it. I did not allow myself to go down that road. I said, you know what? We'll drain the air compressor. It takes 5 seconds to pull the plug to drain the water out. I'll drain the water out of the filter. It's a little bit better, but not perfect. So what I did, high volume, low gun, is I adjusted it so then when the air pressure did drop, I was still able to put on a pretty uniform wet coat. And since I'm spraying a hood, I don't have running like I was if channel. And so I put on a really, really heavy coat right before I started the podcast, and it should be fine. I hope it is. It's a good, cool day. It should have a slow time cure, and it'll look okay. But I didn't allow myself to go down a negative road. So many times in my past, I have allowed myself to go down that negative road. Have you done that? Have you allowed yourself road? Like, and I talk about this, and it's idiotic, but we always do. When things are going good, you're always waiting for the ball to drop or something bad happen. Why the hell do we do that? As human beings, most of us, some of us, maybe at any given time, do that. Think, oh man, things are going good. Things are going great. And then you start letting the negative thoughts slide in. The negative thoughts turns your mood around. The negative thoughts turns your day around. Those negative thoughts which turn something very positive now into something negative. And we've all done it. And so try not to do that. Fix the problem. Yeah, things happen. You know, I'm sitting here. I can't see I keep looking at the shed, but I can't see the hood. The paint's wet. If a fly flies in, stick to it. If anything flies in, it's going to stick to it. Not there, obviously, because I'm here on the podcast and use tweezers and pull it out. So I'm just going to trust the process and know that everything's going to be fine. And I walk in there, that hood's going to be really awesome. And I'm going to come home and see it. And we're going to go, heck yeah, we'll go drink some, go out to eat dinner. Then after dinner, we're going to come back and drink some 10th Mountain Bourbon. And we got to get his car going. You know, he put the 671 blower on. It's got electrical issue. We'll figure it out. Yep. Self-sabotage. You're absolutely right. And I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I think we are guilty of it. But let's try this summer. Let's try this day. Let's start now to do a little bit less self-sabotaging. Because why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we do that? Now, there's always some people out there, and you guys all have friends of Nellies, right? They're always about something. They never like anything. They always complain if the sky is blue. Well, crap, it's blue. Oh no, there's 2 clouds that went by. Oh no, now my day's ruined. You know how those people are. If you have that friend or somebody like that all the time, and they always want to bring you down, maybe you got to find a new friend, or maybe you try to figure out why they're so negative all the time. But I've known people in my life that they're just negative people. No matter what you say or do, they could win the lottery and they'd still be negative about something. It's just interesting. I don't know why the people are like that. Anyway, I'm not like that, and I'm not going to be like that anymore. I'm not going to self-sabotage myself because I know what happened when I did self-sabotage myself because I almost offed myself by self-sabotaging myself. So I don't want to do that anymore. And that's why I do the podcast. That's why VeteranTrashTalk does what they do. And I appreciate everybody listening. You know, and so what can we do? I always like to think of things out of the box. You know, what can you do to help yourself from not self-sabotage? Let's think about that. I'm in a chair with no pads, so I'm going to sit back. what can I do if I'm always have a habit of self-sabotaging? Well, first time, let's think about why you're doing that. Why are you always sabotaging? Okay, it could be trauma. It could just be just always had something good happen, then bad happen. That's happened to me. Okay, let's write that down. Let's put a little note down there. Okay. Then think about, okay, now I know kind of the why. Why do I self-sabotage? So I know that a little bit on why. And it changes any situation, right? The situation changes. If you're traveling and a flight gets delayed, another flight gets delayed, and you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen when I got out of bed. I just knew it. I knew it. And then you're cranky and you're mad and you're all day, or you're stuck in traffic and like, I knew there's going to be traffic there. I'm going to be stuck in it. I'm going to be sitting there forever. Then you work yourself up in a frenzy. If that's you, let's think about how we can make that a little bit better, right? So I lived in Northern Virginia. Now I live in Naples. So I went from really bad traffic to super, super sucky traffic, right? But one thing I learned and one thing I taught myself in Northern Virginia is there's always going to be traffic, no matter what. It's going to be traffic. You can make two choices. When you're stuck in traffic, you can be mad, you can be upset, you can scream, you can cuss, you can your steering wheel, you can do all those things. But guess what's happening? You're still stuck in traffic. It's a change. And so why would you want to sit and be mad in the car? What's the first thing going to happen when you get home? Get out on the first person you see. You're going to think about on your wife or your children or your neighbor maybe or something. You're just going to complain about the fact you sat in traffic. What I learned is that I'm stuck in traffic. I just turn on my favorite music or podcast. And so then I turn it into a me moment because I don't have to think about driving because we're stopped. And then I turn it into a relaxation moment. And, then I became very patient at being a driver. And I remember I was going somewhere in Northern Virginia and I had somebody in the car and the light turned green and the car in front of me didn't go. And so I didn't honk my horn. I just sat there. And the person sitting next to me is like, Cliff, what's going on? And I didn't say anything. Eventually the person in front of me went and we were going out to eat or something and we sat down and they were like, all right, so tell me. The light turned green. The lady sat there for like an eternity. It wasn't 30 seconds. But you didn't honk your horn. You didn't do anything. You just sat there. And I said, yeah. Do you know why I sat there? Did you see what was going on in the car in front of me? Or were you so mad or so upset that you wasn't paying attention? And I said this. There's a car seat in the back seat. I'm pretty sure she was probably fiddling with that little toddler she has in that back seat. We're all parents. We all had kids. Sometimes things happen at stoplights. If I would have honked my horn or been a little bit anxious or a little bit pushy, it could have made her nervous and maybe her foot slipped off the brake or something happened while she's trying to take care of her child. I'm going to lunch. So what does 30 seconds matter? And they're like, oh, you're like the most patient person. No, I had to learn to be patient. But also I had to learn to think about others, right? And if you mess around with your cell phone or something, yeah, that's different. You can beep your horn and have them go. But I saw her turn around, and I knew she was fiddling with the kid. And so, I had to learn how to practice patience in traffic. I had no problem. But also when you're traveling in the summertime, it's very busy when you're traveling air travel, or if you're taking a bus or a train or wherever you're going. If something happens during your travel, why do you let it upset you? One thing I'm teaching my 11-year-old son, and we travel a lot, is that if something gets delayed, like we were flying back to the States, and our flight, we got to Munich, we were late getting to Munich, we missed our connecting flight. And so I just told Lloyd, well, we're just going to turn this into an adventure. And so we get our ticket changed. So the next day we go and I book us a room Hilton there in Munich. Very nice Hilton, by the way. And we just turned it into a fun adventure. And so I wanted to teach my child, unlike I was taught, not to be mad about that situation. I can't control it. I'm not going to change it. It wasn't going to change because there wasn't another flight out. And so we just made the fun out of it. And so instead of being angry and upset all day, day long and taking that out on him, I just turn into and then we go to a restaurant and he tries schnitzel for the first time and he likes it, and I tried a new beer and it was good. And we just had a fun time. And then we go to the pool and he's able to swim in the pool and relax. And then the next day we get up, we're at the airport already because the Hilton's attached, and we go and fly and make a day late, but we get it back to Missouri where we're going. And it really didn't matter. And I get it. Sometimes you're traveling and you have tight deadlines and this, that, and the other, but you can't control this. You can't control things. And so you have to learn, A, not to self-sabotage yourself, and to always, try to put yourself in those other people's shoes in the service industry. If you go to a restaurant and they mess your order up, if they do something different, they're trying their best. I know they are. So don't take it out on them. Be a little bit patient. You can ask nicely, "Hey, this really wasn't the way that I ordered or the way I thought food was or was going to come. Can you please explain to me? I told you I wanted this, but you brought me this. How can we do to fix it? How can we change this? There's a better way to approach stuff instead of yelling at people or being mad or getting upset over something you shouldn't be mad or upset about." Because it can be fixed, right? And just like if you travel, you can't change it. And so if you're getting up in the morning and you're trying not to self-sabotage, let's try that. Let's talk positive to each other. Let's look at things a little bit differently. Let's try to be more patient. Let's try to understand that sometimes stuff happens, right? You can't control it. And that's okay if stuff happens. Like today with an air compressor. Air compressor worked fine yesterday, but today, sorry, it's on vacation. I know what it was. That was my Father up in heaven testing me why I was painting that hood to see if I could handle the different situations that come up. Because obviously, when you work in a body shop, there's always issues and problems that come up. And maybe that was him testing me. And I think it's going to work out. I think I'm going to walk in there because I briefly looked at the hood before I came out here. I think it's going to look good. I think it's going to be all right. I get in the core myself. Sorry, working around all this stuff to keep up my allergies. And the basic core of everything, I think that hood's going to be fine. It's going to look great. I'm going to take good photos of it. I'm going to be home here in probably about an hour. And I'll show it to him. He'll probably go right out there and look at it. And then I'll get Hugh's hood fixed up and taken care of. And I didn't have to do the other guy's car hood, but he was, just helping him out, right? It feels good to help out. So let's think about something. I'm going to talk about some funny stuff here as I wrap this up. But so let's think about being patient. Let's think about in our realm of being patient. Let's quit self-sabotaging ourselves because it's very important not to do that. Let's always try to look for, it doesn't have to always be positive, but let's just look at the better way of something. If something goes wrong, let's look at it as something different that we can do to make that situation a little bit different instead of always being negative about that. And if you have a friend who's always negative, maybe you need to help them to see the more positive side of things. And so maybe they quit being negative, and so, let's try that. What do you got to lose trying it? Are you scared to try? Or are you that nervous about doing something new or that you don't want to just try it? Try not being negative. Try it. You might like it. I think you will like it. I like it. I enjoy it. I know that, it's made a change in my life to try to be more positive and less negative. But it's also easy to be negative. So let's don't do that. There's no more negativity. We're all going to talk about good and wonderful things and go there. And then take care of yourself. You know your body. And I want to tell you the story. So I was talking to a friend of mine. She was a flight attendant, and she's like, "Hey, I had this situation happen the other day, and I wanted to run it by you." I said, "Okay, I'm all ears. Bring it on. Let me see." We already know that I'll never be an attendant. And so she told me that they were preparing for a flight. I don't remember where they were going. And one of the FAs, the flight attendants, said, I have this heart issue. I'm not supposed to drink sparkling water, and I drank it, and my heart rate's high. And so I need to sit down for a little bit. Of course, you guys know when you're flying that, before they take off the flight, it's very busy, preparing the cabin and all these things. And so her heart rate was like, I don't know, 115, which isn't overly high, but, she knows there's something wrong with her. And, then, she was supposed to go to Frankfurt and meet somebody in Frankfurt, blah, blah, blah. She had friends or, something going on plane wise. And so she didn't want to be taken off the plane. And so my friend is a purser to the flight. The captain flies it, and he's obviously the overall in charge, but she's in charge of all the flight attendants. And so she had to make the decision: are you going to go in the evaluation? So then she had to go talk to the captain, and the captain kind of made the choice, and then some manager got involved. Long story short, this girl knew she had a problem, and she was going to risk her life to go to Frankfurt. Why? I don't know. But the captain made the right decision. He says, you're not going to go on this flight. You're going to get off the plane. And, of course, you're going to go seek medical help. By the time she made it from the airport to the hospital, her heart rate was 224 beats, and then had to go in and stop her heart and restart it. So had she gone on that flight, she probably would have died. I thought that was kind of interesting. And so they made the right choice, right? They made a hard choice, but it was the right choice. And sometimes when you make the hard decision, it turns out to be the right decision. And so sometimes in life, if you want to make the hard choice that I'm not going to self-sabotage anymore, I guarantee you over time, that's going to be proved to be the right decision and what you should have always done to begin with. And so think about that story and think about, well, what would things were a little bit different? Well, she may not have that she would have. That's pretty serious when your heart's beating 224 beats per minute. That's not good. And we already have issues. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Be sure and catch the replay on Reads Across America. I talked about it early on. You got Reads Across America up there, that QR code, you can scan it. You can download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app if you want. It's your choice. It's free country. But much easier if you just download the Reads Across America radio app. And then you don't have to do anything. You don't have to search for Reads. You don't have to sit on your Reads Across America. Once you save it to your favorites, download the app, and you get all the programming, all this great podcast, and all the great podcasts, and all the things they do for the veterans. But if you have some extra money, if you have that loved one that's in that veteran cemetery, there's a really beautiful red cardinal in the tree in front of me. I keep looking at it. Scan that QR left hand, go to their website. You can donate, or you can just donate money if you want. It's really amazing what they do during the holiday season to place those wreaths. It's something they've done for many, many, many years. I'm just happy to be part of them. So you got extra $15 laying around. Donate it, that wreath, no problem. We talked about 10th Mountain Whiskey and Bourbon. I'm wearing their t-shirt right now. I'm going to drink some of their bourbon later. Give them a look-see. I guarantee you're going to like their bourbon. Their bourbon is really good if you drink. If you don't drink, then, don't try it. But maybe you have a friend that does. Maybe no. Don't like. Hey, look, we got a new federal union, and he's going to drop. Haven't used your VA loan, or you're thinking about refinancing your house, hold off a little bit. Scan that QR code for Veterans Mortgage powered by Free Mortgage, because you know what? They're going to help you with that. If you have any problems, they'll help you out. No problem. You're at PCS to Paradise. If you're still active duty military and you're planning on being stationed out in Hawaii, scan that QR code. They will help you find your perfect place, right? They will help you find, maybe get a beach, close to the beach if that's your vibe. Do something different. If you always do the one thing, right? This is what I'm early on, right? Do something different new. Spend a little bit extra money and go stay on the beach for 3 years. You know, yeah, you probably enjoy it. I will like it. You know what? I think you will. Try that out. You know what? This week, and then come back next week. Have a very next week, next podcast. I do have a guest coming on, and it's going to be a very, very, very interesting show. So I hope you guys catch the show next Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesday next week. Jason's coming on. I'll tell you about his story with the promo coming out next week for the show. But he's got a really powerful, moving story about how he wound up in America. But, hey, with that, you guys have a great week. I'm going to get back, but I appreciate you all. We are our brothers and sister keepers out there. So, hey, let's look out for each other. Yeah, that buddy or friend went quiet. Let's give him a look. See, let's give him a call. Maybe go drink some 10th Mountain whiskey with him. Get in and take care.